Hello, you're hereby requested to attend the meeting of the Community Funding Subcommittee. It's a special council. And we have all electronic devices turned off and only used on silent mode during the meeting, please. Can we have apologies for absence, please?
Councillor Percy Elliott, apologies.
And Councillor Victoria, apologies.
Thank you.
And Councillor Budget for 5 years.
Yeah. Do we have any disclosure of interests in grants of dispensations?
Chair, just as a member of the county council, I won't be able to vote on agenda item 11.
Yes, I'll disclose the same as that. And county council members? To disclose on that one? Thank you very much. Agenda 3, minutes of the council meeting held on the 17th of July 2025 to agree the minutes as a true record.
Great.
Second is thank you. 3.1 actions outstanding from the previous minutes.
Motion.
None. Thank you. Item 4, decision report. 4.1, motion submitted regarding the 2025-2026 budget. Has everybody read that one? Did you read this out?
United States, Denise.
Denise, would you like to read this one out? You.
Find the page. The motion. Yeah. It's to maintain the existing budget that we've got at 73,300. To increase the councillor small schemes by funding £1,000 per councillor, so that it takes 32,000 out for community grants pot, but obviously that's for each councillor to be able to spend 2,000 in total for this year. Supports grants budget to 141,300 from the original budget to 157,300. That's the motion.
Thank you very much. We've sort of looked at this and we've thought £1,000 doesn't really get you very much nowadays. So if we raise it to £2,000, you know, communities can get a little bit more value out of that than this £1,000. You agree on that? On the motion?
Anybody's got any questions, please?
Any questions? Yeah.
Mark, was yours a question? Or
No.
that's not necessarily a question, it's more debate. But although I support the increase to £2,000, not at the detriment of the community grants budget, it is something councillor will say the same if he was here, that we've looked at having it increased previously, but having it come out of the community grants budget means that there's community groups that would potentially get up to £5,000 that wouldn't get that. That's 3 to 4 community groups that wouldn't be able to receive funding. And although, yes, you could give funding from said councillors' small schemes, that would be 5 to 10 councillors that have to put money together to support those community groups instead of them coming to the town council. Seeing as last time we got 17 requests and this time we have 14, the 141,000 would, if all community groups got £5,000, only support 28 community groups in 1 year, as opposed to the 32. Obviously that is dependent on community groups getting £5,000 and not less, but I do think it would be a detriment to some of our community groups that don't get funding straight away. At the just so councillors could have a little bit more money to spend on projects themselves, when other councils don't even get £1,000. We're quite lucky that we do get some funding towards it. Sorry, that wasn't very good.
That's all right. Anybody to follow up on that? Denise? Sorry.
I feel the same way as Kate, and I think, £4,000 is expected. It's a good idea, very good idea, but I wouldn't like to see it coming out of the community funding, because the community, there's so many groups out there that they're lost out by it, and that's the thing I would worry about them losing there. It's going to be more about 32 grand or something. They're going to lose out on that. So I just don't think it should be coming out of the community fund.
Denise?
The £1,000 that we've all got anyway for our small schemes already comes out of the community funding. So raising it to £2,000, it doesn't really disadvantage any of the groups coming forward for the community funding, because it wouldn't need to be 5 councillors putting together or 10 councillors. If anybody had a particular passion for any of the communities that are coming forward in their ward, there's nothing stopping them saying, okay, I'm willing to put 500 towards that, or I'm willing to put my full 2,000 towards that. And it's then still going into that same community funding charity that's asking for that money. So I don't agree that it would need 5 or 10 councillors. And also, can I just as well put a motion in that we stick to the rules of the community funding. I've noticed in the past there's been £10,000 accepted, and it does make it unfair for anybody applying for the community grants at the end of the financial year, because there's very little left in the pot, which we're finding already from the first community funding we've had this year. When you look at what's left over, it's not a lot. So anyone who came along in the first tranche had an advantage over, the ones that are going to come at the end of it. And holding this small schemes funds gives you an opportunity that if a charity does come forward that has never come forward before and is a well-worthy cause, then it's the individual councillors can help support that in that way.
Thank you very much. Councillor Johnson?
Well, as you probably know, I was the person who put this forward initially, and the reason why I put it forward was I am acutely aware of the fact there's an imbalance in the council, and I think that it could be that some councillors may want to support certain charities, but because of the imbalance, there won't be any money there for them, and that would mean that in actual fact they would feel that the charities that they support are going to get nothing. Whereas if there's an increase in the individual allowance, it gives two opposing, they want to call them opposing, people of a different party, the opportunity, two people from a different party, the opportunity to put together and support the charity that they would like to see supported, even though the majority goes against that particular wish, which means it makes a better balance within the council. That's the way I actually saw it. So, I mean, you're in a limited situation at the end of the day, but not every single person is putting in for £5,000 maximum to start with. And we're all looking towards trying to get people to purchase through the council, so we save 20% on the purchase, which is going to make the fund in reality bigger, because we're going to save on the VAT in many ways. So if we can save on the VAT, we can expand it. We can expand the funding indirectly, and also give those councillors who've got that extra money the opportunity to fund the charity of their wish to a greater extent.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. It's not ward specific, so say if any councillor wants to put into any community fund, it doesn't have to actually be in your own ward. I think in my ward, I would struggle to place my money anywhere because I only have the rugby cricket club. So I think this idea, I could support another community, you know, and help them out. It doesn't actually affect the 173,300 what we have on for funding. We've used quite a bit already, and the ones that don't get funding are going to be too late in the year. There's not going to be a lot in the pot. So if we do use this £2,000, if we allocate it to ourselves, we can actually help out, you know, as a named councillor in any ward. I think Councillor Carty is first.
Yeah, I agree with what Catherine Caitlin said. And if you do agree to give 2,000 to the councillors, I think there should be a maximum of 5,000 thrown out. You'll not give anybody any more. 5,000 is a lot of money to start with.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was saying. Yes. Any more? Councillor Carty.
I think one of the most important things, Chair, to forget is this really won't benefit the town council, because the majority of us here are county councillors, and we get 15,000 to give to the communities. So us getting an extra 2,000, it's like we're stealing from, in my opinion. Three points, Chair, about this we should all consider. We're already oversubscribed in grants. We've already spent over £60,000 so far. We've got another £73,000 worth of applications already waiting. So, you know, that's already £133,000 demand against the budget of £157,300. And it's only September, actually. You know, we've got months yet to go through more applications to sort of read through.
Straight up until next April, yeah.
But that means we're cutting down our pot from 157,000 to 141,300. And that means to me that a lot more groups are going to go disappointed because we won't have the money to give them from our community budget. And again, as councillors have mentioned, this isn't really money, this is money we're moving from our pot to give to our town councillors and myself as county councillors. And like I say, we already get £15,000 to spend in the community from my county council budget. So all we're doing is moving it around, and every pound we give ourselves as councillors, that's a pound taken away to these community groups like football clubs, youth clubs, food banks. And I don't want to give them, I don't want to take money away from them, Chair, and give it to ourselves for our own personal projects and awards. I think that money should be kept in the community pot. It's a perception problem, because I don't think the members of the public will see it as a good thing either. Yeah, I mean, even if the rules are clear, you know, it does look like self-interest in my opinion, Chair, and that's my concern, is that the public's going to see this as we're just giving ourselves money to spend in awards rather than us taking money out of the community pot. So personally, I think the money should stay where it is, although it is a good intention release. again, you and I get £15,000.
But that's, you can only spend that on capital. And there are a lot of these charities that are coming forward and are not capital. And like I said, you know, it just helps if you want to donate your personal schemes funds to these ones that are not capital. So it's just helping out to divide these things a little bit fairly,
Yeah.
rather than it being concentrated on the whole of one area and the ones that keep repeats coming back, and it's not giving these other ones a chance.
We totally could spend your money on charity groups from the county council budget.
It's from our understanding, it's capital, you've got to spend it against
I've
capital.
done it before, personally.
But then
That's
you
it's
have-
not your fault, maybe it's just like, yeah, project, but.
Yeah,
Thank you, Chair, though.
Thank you,
Just,
councillor Johnson.
I just like to reiterate what you've just said, Denise. That it specifically states for the county council's company, it must be spent on capital goods. You can't spend it on things like fridges and washing machines, dishwashers. You can't support anything that's not like roadways. You've got to invest it in roadways and fences and stuff like that. You can't spend it on like an individual charity. And that's the difference between the two. So the two funds are entirely different. And the intention of these funds is to benefit the community. And it's for us to sort of use our and talk amongst ourselves and decide on what's a good decision. It may well be that you may say, well, you know, Dave, you've got so much money, can you help me with this? And that may be more, no problem whatsoever. Could be something to do with the beach or something like that. And if we've got this extra money to spend, where somebody might want £600 or £700, and it hasn't got to go through a council meeting, it can just be decided immediately that it's the right thing to do. You know, it gives us a little bit more flexibility to support the community rather than seeing it as an individual. Like, I've got more money. It gives us flexibility as a council to support people in the area more quickly, because it only comes round once every 3 months, and there could be people who need something straight away.
Councillor Jones.
I just want to come back on that. I don't think any of us here have said that we disagree with increasing the budget. What we've said is we don't agree with it coming out of the community grants funding because of the things that we've said already. And I know you disagree and that you don't see how we can see it, but there are specific groups that do ask for quite a lot of money, and as individuals, we wouldn't be able to support that whole project. I know Councillor Peters said about one of our previous applications that it should have come out of Councillor Carr's budget. Well, even if we had the £2,000, they asked for 5,000. It couldn't have purely come out of one person's budget, and that's not fair to those community groups to say that they can't apply. I'm not saying you're saying that as a whole, but encouraging that they shouldn't be applying for community grants funding because they should only be going to their councillor or other councillors. Like Councillor Swinnow said, we only have the rugby cricket club in our ward, so we will have to support other community groups. I also just want to ask, because I've been searching this policy, and I know that we previously did have a sentence in here regarding the amount of funding that you've raised, the maximum grant where we can, it's up to the committee to extend the maximum grant, but I can't see the correct wording. I don't know if an officer can help me with that. Just for clarification on Councillor Nicholas' point.
I to tell you what I've read into it. I've looked into it, and the maximum grant allowed was £5,000. And in the past, we've had grants over £5,000, and we've sort of, as a group, agreed on them. Not necessarily everybody knew it was only £5,000, and that has taken a bit of a chunk out of the funds. So we'll clarify.
Can clarify the word. Yeah. It's up to, it's for, was it for
I think it was on There's exceptions.
It's exceptions and at the discretion of the committee, for certain groups like community centres that have the, I can't remember the word, you might be able to help me out.
With all the overheads and everything.
Yeah.
wasn't it?
But it is in like few and far between that was allowed over 5,000.
Yes, also, within the funding, we'd also look at bank accounts and what different groups have already in reserves. And some things you think, well, what are they actually asking for here? So, but that's in part two, where we'll get to that. So we're looking at everything, just for the members of the public, we're looking at everything when we're doing the grant funding, you know. Councillor Nichols.
Yeah, can I just say, it does say on the application forms, as well, if you look at the application form, that the maximum amount they can apply for is £5,000. So it does state that, but also as well, the money, when we mentioned before about the funding, you know, it coming out of the, you know, we didn't think it should be within the budget. We can't, I wouldn't be, in agreement with increasing that budget, because the minute we increase that budget, it increases the council tax. So that is why I suggested it should be within the budget we've already got.
Thank you. I was still looking for clarification of the fund limit.
I think it was in the policy, very
It's-
exceptional.
Yeah.
It certainly was, it was.
Yeah, it was in the policy.
Because sometimes grants, Chair, are given to specific groups such as, you know, football clubs or rugby clubs. And the exception where the committee could go a bit higher, where in the example of a community centre, it benefited a wider community, you know, young and old, everything like that, from all parts of the town and surrounding. Place.
Yes.
That's where the discretion came in for the community, but it certainly was in the policy.
I mean, it wasn't just a fly-by-night thing, it's something that we really needed. So we made an exception and added to the policy, that you could do that, just the one-off.
The problem is that everything's just got so much more expensive now, and you know, the budget hasn't really increased to and less value for money for all of these charities, and I don't think any one charity should have any form of exception over another. I think it should just be decided as and when they come in for the funding.
Yeah, come and move this motion on. The motion was to maintain the existing budget for community grants of 173,300, albeit using Fairmint to increase the councillor small scheme funding by £1,000 per councillor to 32,000, whilst reducing the community sports grants budget to 141,300 from the original budget of 157,300. This follows receipt of a councillor's motion for this change.
Motion will be given to an application of discretion of the Community Development Committee or its subcommittee.
Right. Special consideration may be given to the applicant at the discretion of the Community Development Committee or its subcommittees.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we take the vote on this motion?
Yeah, there's a motion. Be put forward, it's just a case of,
Has a motion been
has there
made?
been motion's been put forward by two.
Yeah. Feel it, that is-
Can we agree on the motion?
Are there any alternative motion?
Any alternative motions on this?
Vote it, keep it the same, Chair. As it is.
Yeah, so you vote on Daniel's first.
All right,
You seconded, Chair, the motion.
second. Okay, second. So can we vote on councillor Carr's, that will keep it the same as what it's been? Again, can we vote on the motion of,
That's those against as well.
sorry,
Again, we've got a four, we've got a two against, just in case people abstain.
right, can we vote on against that one? Councillor Cos? No. That one.
One not happy, but one not
No,
happy.
I read it out, didn't I?
Yeah, but no.
All right. Can we vote on the motion that Natalie and myself put together?
Denise.
Sorry, Denise. Can we vote on that, please? Anybody against? Yeah, so motion carried. Thank you very much. Move on to item 5, agenda 5, date and time of the next meeting. Next meeting of Blythe Town Council will be held Council Chamber, Arms Aberdeen House, on Thursday, the 16th of October 2025. Public question time starts at 6 p.m. and council will commence directly afterwards. Move on to agenda 6, part 2, pursuant of the Public Bodies Admission to Meetings Act 1960, that in view of the confidential nature and the business about to be transacted, it is advisable in the public interest that the press and public be excluded and the instructed to withdraw.
Fiscal logo stays.
Thank you very much.